Hey everybody, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of Customizing Culture, the Heat Press Nation podcast. My name is Jared Barbosa. I'm your host, and today I have a really awesome guest. His name is Ruben Oriole, and you probably know him as the T-shirt buddy. Ruben, what's up, man?
I'm glad to be on. I'm finally happy to see your face. Not in person, but in person.
Same, as close to in person as we can get these days, right?
Right.
Yeah. Dude, so for those people who may not know you yet, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Ruben Oriole from Vallejo, California, the Bay Area, also known as the T-shirt buddy, content creator. The influencers, the title they give us. I think we're all influencers. I print every method there probably is, which we'll go into detail about, and I'm excited to be here. I love to do these things and hopefully inspire somebody else to become an entrepreneur also.
Dude, I love it, man. So before we kind of dive into your story, you have a unique background, which I kind of a little bit can relate to, but you're a musician. You've been in the music industry since you were young, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you kind of tell me how you got started with that? Because I know that kind of builds into the story of the T-shirt buddy.
Yeah, so when I say my family, nothing but musicians, I totally mean that. From my father on down, we're born in Puerto Rico. He came out to the States following the music dream. Very successful group. I can't think of the name right now, but I know it was something called what we call Jibaro music, which is from Puerto Rico. And so as a kid, I lived in concert halls and bars, sleeping under bars. Like my life was spent, like the first, as probably up until I got to like maybe first grade, just on tours with my family. And then, of course, a lot of the folks know that if they've seen me tour or an opening act is one of my cousins who's still doing something today, very popular musician. I don't like to name drop, but I'll say it so that they know, which is Baby Bash. They call him Bash. And so we just have a long line of musicians. And so naturally, following my father's footsteps and our family footsteps is what led me into music pretty much my whole life.
Yeah, and so then now at a certain point, and we'll kind of get into the break, but then at a certain point, of course, you move on from music, and then you start the T-shirt buddy. Now I have to ask, did that start first? Were you opening like the printing business first, and then the channel came, or what was kind of the, the movement there?
No, if you're in music, naturally, music and merch go hand in hand. So I've always done merch. I go back to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, probably 20 years, actually about 20 years. I go back to when we were going to like Kmart's and Payless and stuff like that and getting the little iron-on numbers and names and making ourselves shirts in elementary and junior high. But naturally, again, when you're on tour, if you're doing any type of music, you're going to want merch. And so I was an original screen printer. So back then I was screen printing with some buddies. We went in on this business. And so if I'm on the road, they're screen printing my merch and I'm making merch for everybody else as well. So it's something that I've always done hand in hand.
So you're no newcomer to the T-shirt industry. You're kind of running it concurrently with your music career. And dude, you're a full-time musician, which to me is kind of the dream. So I'm a musician. I have a band with my younger brothers, and I love my job here. Don't get me wrong. But full-time music, there's nothing like it, right? Would you agree? I don't know.
Yeah, I do. I think that one of the things I've always done is I'm the guy that reads through contracts. Like I'll go through every single detail, and then I have people that I'm surrounded by that know them as well. And so I can say that I honestly set myself up to forever receive some residual, money from my music. And it's really in the publishing, so I have a publishing deal, and then I'm also a writer. So I submit jingles. There's tons of stuff that I do that people don't know about. And so the way that we were able to do this in 2008, we set it up where I'll forever, even if it's a couple dollars, but let me tell you, there's no better feeling than sitting at home. Although thank God I'm blessed in the sense that I'm able to financially take care of myself with the business that I run. But even if I didn't, every 45 days, 30 days, I get a check from my publishing company. So it never fails.
That's awesome.
Right.
Oh man, that's incredible. That's really, really smart. Reminds me of the kid from the Lion King who's saying, "I just can't wait to be king." His mom, kind of like how Michael Jordan's mom kind of stepped in. His mom was like, "No, cut his pay, but just get him royalties."
Yes, exactly.
And my dude has made millions.
Yes,
and
that's where
it's
at,
he's
man.
gonna continue. Yeah. for sure.
Yeah, I feel
So
far too many times. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go. No, I love it.
Yeah, I think far too many times, and it's the same thing. I apply, or I'm starting to apply more of what I did musically in the t-shirt business. But I think far too many times is people want they're so concerned with being the star. You know, they see these videos and there are these songs like, I want the chains, I want the cars, I want the women in the man, that's not where it's at. That's just video stuff, right? But it's how you set
Exactly.
yourself up behind the scenes, man. And so you find a lot of these guys will shoot a couple videos, pretend to be these stars, and then still be broke. You know, you didn't set up your publishing properly. So yeah, that's not me.
Yeah.
I'm about setting it up long term.
That's really smart, man. And what's interesting to me, so you've recently kind of broken onto the scene as far as like
Right.
the t-shirt garment decorating
Right.
industry is concerned. So in some people's eyes, they're probably saying, "Oh, who's this new guy on the block?" But
Right.
the truth is, you've actually been an entrepreneur for a really long time.
Right. Right.
So how do you think, in your own words, how would you say that your experience as an entrepreneur prior to coming into the t-shirt business, how has that affected your success in the t-shirt business?
Well, it's being able. All I did was I just took what I was doing musically and applied it to the t-shirt game, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing,
Yeah.
but because well, we're talking 2019 when I came on and started to say, okay, I'll shoot some content, and and never did I expect to want to do this, but I think when COVID hit, obviously, it gave us all the
Mhm.
opportunity to sit at home and try to figure out what to do, right? And that's when it really became kind of a full-time thing for me. But if you go back to some of my content in 2019, I think it was April of 2019. There's a video somewhere on my Instagram where I had to go to a job. And the only reason I was working this job for as long as I was is being a musician. I was with this girl, and her father had told her, I'm never going to accept a guy whose career is being a musician,
Oh, gee.
And so, yeah, so she was like,
Yeah.
you got to get a job, and so and so and so. And that's when I went to this one company, but I knew that it wasn't for me, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm not the guy that can sit behind a cubicle and be told when I can go pee, when I can take a break, and then if I
Yeah.
feel sick, like I have to bring you a doctor's note for you to believe me. I get
Oh,
there's
geez.
rules.
Yeah.
That just wasn't for me. So in April of
Mhm.
2019, after being there for a couple of years and still doing music and everything I was trying to do on the side, there's a video. I go outside, I'm sitting under this tree, and I was super depressed. And I said, you know what? Like, I'm speaking into his existence right now. I will not be here this time next year. If I'm here this time next year, like slap me. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I was able to leave prior to COVID, and I put that in. I made I put that into play, and I said I'm a full time entrepreneur. I think this was around maybe towards the end of 2019, right?
Mhm.
And actually, I think it was July because it's funny that it was July 7th, 2019, because my first job, t-shirt business, was $700 and something. It was the same day. I mean, same dollar amount as the day that I
Mhm.
actually left the company,
Oh, that's
July
cool.
7th something. Really trippy, right? And
Yeah.
so I knew it was for me, but COVID kind of boosted that. And I said, well, I have nothing else better to do than sit at home. I'm not taking
Yeah.
sessions anymore because we're on lockdown, so people can't book studio time. So I just started to make content about the t-shirt stuff, man, and I applied the music to the t-shirts that I was making.
Mm. Man, that's fascinating, dude. It's really interesting, and I hope I'm not like sidetracking too hard. Out here in
Yeah,
SoCal, I don't want to say they're my friends, but they're like friends of friends. A bunch of
right,
musicians, when COVID hit, they couldn't tour anymore, and so they
right.
started a taco shop. And their taco shop is actually really successful.
Oh,
Shout out
nice,
to
nice.
Tacos Ike. They're out here in SoCal. They're
Hey, send me some.
delicious. Yeah, dude.
Yeah,
When you come down, it's not super far from here. We'll go try them
yeah,
out, man. They're really good.
absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
but see, and to me, that's what's cool about musicians, man. Musicians, in my opinion, they're a very special breed because we know what it's
Right,
like to have to, like, hey, you went out here. Guess what? Gig was supposed to pay this much, didn't pay. So we know
right.
how to pivot. Like
Yeah,
musicians know how to pivot, and whether it comes from like
absolutely.
the improvisation that we learn,
Right.
that you kind of hone over the years, but musicians know how to pivot. And I'm really grateful that your pivot brought you into this world,
Right. Right.
because you have a really unique approach, just a really unique way of doing things. And I'm a big fan of people who do everything
Right.
because people ask me like, hey, should I do this versus that? And then I'm like, well, I know this and I've read about
Right.
that. So
Right.
I'll
Right.
be very honest. I'll be like, I cannot give you my honest. So people ask me about screen printing. I say, I cannot give you an honest opinion on it because I've never
Right.
done it. But I
Right.
do know vinyl. I love vinyl. We'll say, right?
Right.
But what's cool about you,
Right.
you've done everything. So what would you say is kind of the influence behind that? You just like trying stuff. Like, how does that work out for you?
Just trying stuff, figuring out what works for you, and giving people options or letting them know that there's options out there,
Hmm.
based around their budget. Not everybody can afford to do every single last thing, that there
Yeah.
is as far as the tools for creating a garment. So it's showing them that there are other ways, other methods that do work. And I'm still, even though I've been doing DTF since, dude, it's 2018. Like I mean, it's way at the
Oh, so
beginning,
you're
right?
kind of an early adopter.
Yeah, but they thought we were crazy.
Yeah.
And so whoever watches this, it might be one of those folks that call me crazy and they're thanking me today. But
Yeah.
yeah, we
Yep.
were trying it back then. It was one of my buddies and it was on a converted printer, right? So the
Mhm.
powders weren't as good, the film wasn't as great. It was really sloppy, but it was at the beginning stages of it. And but again, not everybody likes that method. Some people might prefer
Yeah.
DTG over DTF, right? And so there are other methods to get it done. But we know the limitations also when it comes to vinyl and things like that.
Yeah.
Weeding and stacking is probably not my favorite thing to do anymore with vinyl because I could just do it on DTF or something, right, and get full color.
Yeah.
But there's options, and we have to be able to show that there are options. And on top of that, if I'm a big fan. Obviously, we're all teachers. If we're speaking like we're doing right now, we're teaching somebody something that we're doing.
Hmm.
And I think for people that are brand new coming into the game, there should be a starting point. Not everybody can just immediately go to transfers, right? I mean, they can and they can't,
Right. Right.
but learn, right? And you can have fun with them. But you don't have to push it to sell it. Push it to have some fun and create something brand new.
Dude, that's such a good point, man. Because what's cool, what I love about t-shirts is t-shirts are fun, dude.
Yeah.
Yes, I work here at HPN. Full disclosure, guys, I do get paid here. All right, you
Right,
know,
right, right, right,
but I love t-shirts.
right,
I can genuinely say that I love t-shirts. We were at the Silhouette conference last week, and I was fanboying out, man, because I
right,
love
right.
Silhouette. That was my first cutter, and
Yeah,
so yeah, t-shirts are fun, man. And I actually really
they are.
appreciate your approach to that. Is like, yeah, have fun with it. Like it is fun
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. And that
Well,
fun idea might turn into something that's much bigger than you thought.
yeah. So were you planning on? Well, no, I'm sorry. You kind of said you weren't really planning on being an influencer in this industry. At what point did you start seeing your content take off, and you thought to yourself, "Oh, there might be something more here"?
Yeah. So, yeah. So I'm a super honest, super transparent guy. I don't pull any punches, but I do it respectfully. And so I knew that there was something there. Maybe the first video I had ever put up. There
Mm-hmm.
was the first company that reached out, and I hadn't even been, I hadn't shot content long enough. But I said, okay, so I see that there's something here, and it's not. I think we all have something special about us, and I'm very open with my faith. As a man of faith,
Amen.
it's whether or not you choose to walk in your faith or whether you don't. And there's something, not that there's not something special about someone who's not a person of faith, but I think for me, as I knew that I have something or had something when this particular company reached out to me, and it was one of the companies I saw on YouTube. It's like, hey, we want to work with you, we want to shoot you this and this. But sometimes I think, and I'm hoping that people understand this with my content, is we rush, we give it away, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
giving our gifts away immediately because we think that, well, if we attach this person's name or this company to something that I'm doing, then that means that, I'll get on faster, or that, that's not a pride thing for me. I'm very protective now of what it is that I have to offer because I want to make sure that the content's reaching the right
Mm-hmm.
people. But I knew then, and I will research my butt off, and I researched a lot of the people that were doing stuff, right? And I knew, okay, there's no one well, if they were, they didn't show it. But I'm like, I know I'm in the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
I have all these contacts. I'm printing for some of the guys that are doing big things in the music industry. They don't have that. So I started to, it's funny because it started off, and I say this story all the time. One of my buddies, his name is Stressmatic. Um, and he had this dog, and we talk about this dog every time I do a show. And and it's just when I first started doing t-shirts. He said, "Well, I'll send you the picture of this dog. Let's put a gold grill on the dog and a gold chain and blah blah blah." And then we attached one of his singles in the back of the video,
Mm-hmm.
right? dude, that was my first one that just took off. I said, okay, so is it the dog or is it that I just put his new single as the soundtrack behind the content? I did it a couple more times and I saw that people started to reach out. Well, I mean, I got the single that's dropping. Can you just print me a couple shirts for the content, put my single in the background? So I was like the t-shirt
Oh,
DJ
that
for
dude,
a
that is
long while
really
there.
cool. That's really unique too.
Yeah, yeah, it was, but nobody else
Right.
was doing
Yeah.
it. And then I thought, okay, well, I have a bunch of friends that, are still doing music. And so I had one of my friends, I said, man, make me a jingle, give me a t-shirt buddy jingle. And nobody, I'm telling you, I look across the port. I didn't see anybody else having their own T-shirt or their whatever their company name song or soundtrack. So my buddy did that. That picked off, and there was like a bunch of people. That's a good idea. I'm gonna do that too. Um, in fact, I love this guy. This is my boy. You don't have to edit it because he'll tell you the truth. But my boy Donesh, Silky Socks,
Oh
right?
yeah, yeah.
Donesh
He's
follows
cool.
suit, and Donesh had a rapper do something for him like that too. So it's all so you got to see what it is that you fit in, what's missing in
Hmm.
whatever industry you're going into. And I knew that that was something that was missing, and I wanted to bring that, but at the same time, not be corny about it. And not to say that anyone else is corny, but like what I do isn't a gimmick. I have fun, I have my ups and my downs, but I want you to get to know me. And I think that when you get to know somebody, see, I've always told people you want to change the conversation to from friend to fam, right? So fam has a little bit more
Yeah.
meaning to it. So when you address me, I want you to feel like, or not when we address each other, I want you to feel like you're my family immediately, right? So if
Yeah.
you're my family immediately, I think that support level is a little more deeper than just like, okay, that's home, that's my homie. No, that's my fam.
Yeah.
I'm buying into what he's doing or whatever she's doing. And so I wanted to always have that for someone to feel like they knew me without meeting me in person just yet. If that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Oh, 100%. One thing I've noticed in our industry is that the influencers who are the most authentic, who have kind of the most, and yes, we're all trying to make money in the sense of we all have families to feed, right? But there is a difference between
Sure.
somebody who's authentic and then someone who's just chasing the bag. And and
Right.
to me, the influencers who are most authentic, like they do the best in this industry. There's something about uh, t-shirt makers especially, because I know we cover sublimation and lots of other stuff. But
Right.
for generalization, we'll call them t-shirt makers. There's something about t-shirt makers that the inauthentic bag chasing influencers, like there's no, I don't know. Our industry does a good job of vetting them out for the
Right.
most part and rewarding
Right.
creators who are just authentically themselves. And so I think personally,
Right.
if I could give you my personal opinion on you, I think that's one of the
Sure.
biggest drivers of your success. To me, it's what makes your content just so enjoyable. Is just having that authentic vibe
Sure. Sure.
and
Thank
not
you.
sitting through just a bunch of commercials. you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just, it's not something I could ever do. Like I knew early on, I didn't want to be the drop a link guy.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not doing this to give you a link and say, hey, just go buy this. Like, if you want to, there's a link in the
Right.
description for you. I'm not telling you to go use it, but if you want to know what it was that I was using and you're interested in it, hey, then the link is there for you.
Yeah.
But I think there's too many link pushers, right? And
Right. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
not me. Yeah, like it'll be there for you if you want to use the same exact thing. I'm just teaching you what I'm doing and showing you what I'm going through as I'm building and scaling this business, plus a lot of other personal things in my life. I'm that guy. I wouldn't even say an influencer. This is just my vlog. I'm vlogging my life,
Yeah.
and you're just on the journey with me. This is the day in and day out, and t-shirts just happens to be one part of what I do with my life.
Yeah, and yeah, it's actually a really good segue into something that I did want to ask you, and I did kind of want to bring up. Right now, you're mentioning how like
Sure.
it's your life, it's your whole everything, And I think another thing that makes you really unique and really encouraging, like really uplifting to watch, is you share the struggle, man, and you're one of the few voices out there
Yeah.
who's actually bringing up mental health in our industry. Um, can
Right.
can you talk a little bit about what makes you so willing to share? Because, and I'll say this because not a lot of people are sharing it, not a lot of people are talking about it, and me, I think it's really important for people to know, like, hey, other people in our industry, creators like you, are also going through this, also going through that. So, can you kind of share your heart around just mental health, even as it pertains to music or just our industry?
Yeah, I mean, obviously people know that I do struggle with that. Depression, anxiety, have the PTSDs. I think for me, it was really my upbringing. as much as I love the fact that there was music, we got to be honest, there are sides of music that are actually pretty bad
Yeah.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that my father, couldn't deal with. So I grew up in a home. Well, yeah, there was tons of music and things like that. We're talking a lot of, you know, drugs, and we're talking alcohol, and we're talking abuse. So I grew up in an extremely abusive home, extremely abusive environment. And obviously, I mean, I don't have any mommy daddy issues today, although I do wish, because I'm probably never going to know what it's like to grow up in a home that has a mom and a dad. I don't know what it's like to go fishing with your dad or have your dad be involved in anything,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But I can tell you, and I say this openly, you guys can edit it if you want to, or keep it if you do. But the one thing my dad taught me how to do, and I said this with respect, is yeah, he gave me the music part,
Mm-hmm.
but he also taught me, and I say this respectfully, but my dad's the first person that taught me how to cook it, cut it, bag it, weigh it, sell it,
Wow.
if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense, right? So at the same time he's using, we're selling, and as a young kid, selling for your father and things like that. That's the life that I knew. That's the life I grew up with. Asides, from all the other stuff, we're talking physical abuse and things like that. And I'm open about that. It's okay to share it, but there are times now that I go back and I think, like, why me? Like, why did I have to go through that? Right? Had I known better, if I was taught different, why didn't I have that kind of home and whatnot? So I do struggle with that. And that's a lot of stuff that people are afraid to talk about. But for me, I found that vlogging, what I'm doing now, is medicine for me. It may not work for everybody else, but I've had prescription drugs, I've had the counseling, but nothing has ever felt as good as just telling my story.
Yeah.
Because then when people can relate to it, and then now, not only am I getting advice from them, I'm sharing my story as well. That's medicine. That's medicine. And if you don't talk about it, no one's going to know. And if you don't talk about it, the longer that you harbor it, man, then the sicker that you get, whether it's mentally, whether it's physically, and then on top of that, but a couple of years ago, I lost my home. I lost everything behind this particular relationship. That almost led to me wanting to take my life not
Wow.
long ago. So there's a lot of stuff like that. I mean, I'm much better. I'm much better today. The more that I can talk about it, the more that I can teach and learn. It's helped a lot, man. But I think that there are a lot of people that struggle with it. In fact, I know several people, several content creators, influencers, that many people watch today. Some of our greats
Mm-hmm.
that struggle with the same exact thing, and just won't tell the story like I tell it. But we can comfort each other when we talk about it behind closed doors, man. And if you're going through something, man, get the help. Speak up,
Yeah.
before it gets to the point where it's too late. And as men, I mean, as men,
Yeah.
we're told that we have to be these strong, these kings, and if you cry, if you show something, then you think you're not man enough, bro.
Yeah.
That's where it gets bad for us, But nothing makes you less of a man
Amen.
for telling your
Dude, that's
story.
so true, man. And I just want to appreciate you because I think you represent the light at the end of the tunnel for a lot of people. And just kind of speaking from personal experience, just in just kind of moments of darkness, like you, and I'm not going to speak for anybody else except for myself. I'll say I haven't really been able to see an escape. But then there was people in my life who came and spoke into me and said, "Hey, I've been there, and it does get better,
Right.
and there is a way out." And then having that kind of light at the end of the tunnel introduced into my life, then that kind of did help pull me from the darkness. Of course, like you, man of faith, I don't think I'd be anywhere without God and Him sending those people into my life.
Right.
But it's people. Like God definitely uses people, in my
Right.
opinion, to help bring us out of there.
Yeah.
And I really want to just thank you for being that person for a lot of people. There's so many people who, and for some reason, there's a lot of community in the t-shirt industry online, which I think is fantastic. But in
Right.
person, like there's not to my knowledge, or in my general overview, there's not a lot of community and networking in person. I know that's changing
Right.
as of late, but traditionally, most
Right.
shirt shops, you're your own shirt shop, man. And so I just really want to
Right.
appreciate you for being that light, for sharing that kind of hope in our industry, because I know there's lots of t-shirt makers out there, especially whether you're affected, whether your financial, your bottom line got a hit or a boost during the pandemic. Like it was tough for a lot of people,
Right.
man. And so
Yeah,
I know people
absolutely.
seeing your story and hearing your story and seeing your vulnerability. Uh, yeah, man, it's totally inspirational,
Yeah,
man. And on behalf of a lot of other
thank you, brother.
creators, just want to thank you, man. It's really awesome what you do for sure.
Thank you, bro. Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it means a lot, man. It's there. We just have to speak up about it. And there
yeah,
are some people that once you share will find that it's corny, and I've learned to just look like water, man, let it fall
yeah.
off, like it's some people think it's a gimmick. It's not a gimmick. What
You,
you see is what you get, especially with me.
yeah. So, and also, I think if you've never dealt with deep mental health issues, you probably don't understand it. It's kind of hard to
Right,
grasp the depth if you've never been in that place before. And that's why some
right.
people they say, "Oh, why don't you just go walk outside?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yes, walking
Yeah,
outside,
yeah,
it is important to be healthy and get fresh air, right?" But like if you've never been there,
yeah,
you kind of don't know. And so I'm very grateful for
yeah.
people
Or,
like you.
or, or the one that, thank you. The one that gets me all the time. The one that gets me all the time is when I say, it's all in your head. Yeah, it's in my head. Yeah, it's in my head. My head is making me feel and think this. You're absolutely right.
I hate that
But that
one.
isn't the fix. And so that's when I'm like, okay, I can't even
Yeah,
talk to you. Like,
everything's in your head, man.
yeah, but
The
it's
the
not.
taste of your cheeseburgers
Right.
in your head, the smell of a rose is in every,
Right, 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 right.
yeah.
Those are the ones that drive me crazy.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah. Just those are the ones you got to let them brush off your back.
right,
Yeah, man.
right.
If you had to give some advice, let's just put ourselves in the space of a t-shirt maker. Sales are down. We've all been there. Sales are down, and not only are they rethinking the t-shirt industry, they're kind of rethinking life a little
Right.
bit. What kind of advice do you have for those person? What are some practical steps they can take to take better care of their own mental health?
When it comes to the t-shirt business
When
or
it comes
just
to
in
just life,
general?
I'm assigning a t-shirt maker because that's who we are. It's.
Okay. Right, right. Um, I mean, for me at least, t-shirts can't be the end of it. T-shirts isn't the end all be all. It
Yeah.
goes beyond t-shirts. T-shirts is a small part of it.
Yep.
But I think again, it's being able to surround yourself with people who are willing to listen, people who understand. Find other outlets that aside from the bad ones. Obviously avoid
Yeah.
the easiest thing, which is turn into to drugs and alcohol and things like
Mhm.
that. That's the easiest thing to do. But it's finding people that are willing to listen. Even if that means then there's nothing wrong with getting some counseling. There's nothing wrong with seeing a therapist. You know, um, get the help that you need and some people think there's nothing wrong with them, even when they're suffering through depression, whatever else. It's like, okay, I'm just having a sad day.
Yeah.
But if you're having them often, then there's probably something wrong that you want to go, get seen for. But I like to keep myself busy.
Hmm.
I will say that as strong as I am today, don't leave me completely. I mean, okay, let me take that back. You can leave me by myself, right?
Yeah.
If I have too much time by myself doing nothing,
Oh
that's
yes.
more time I'm in my head,
Hmm.
right? I don't like being in my head that long. So I try to stay active as much as possible, even if that's reading a book, even if that's listening to music,
Hmm.
taking a walk, getting on the phone with people. Stay active. If you're sitting there doing absolutely nothing and staring at the ceiling, chances are, at least for people like myself, I'm going to stay in my head a little too long,
Hmm.
man. And if I'm in my head a little too long, it takes that much more. It takes that much longer for me to come out of that. So I try to keep myself as busy as I possibly can. But at the same time, I don't want anyone to think that like I'm just a manic depressive sitting
Yeah.
around. No, I'm doing so much better today.
That's
But I
awesome.
also
Yeah.
had to realize, yeah, I had to realize that I was also in a very extremely toxic relationship prior to this happening.
Hmm.
And I had no idea because when you're in the moment,
Yeah.
you don't realize what's happening, right?
Hmm.
And so a lot of what was going on, feeling sick all the time, the physical pains and things like that were associated to that toxic relationship that I kept trying to save. And so as I came out of it and his life, we're talking a year and something out of that. Now, let me tell you, bro, let me tell you, being away from that relationship, focusing on my son, my business, so many things, started to take off for me. One, I wasn't driving. Dude, I couldn't even leave my front door. I would get in my car. I turn my car on, get to like the stop sign in front of my house, have a panic attack, turn back around, I'm back in the house. This is during
Wow.
that relationship and
Mhm.
towards the end of it. I couldn't do anything. The moment that happened, and I lost everything, my home, you name it. I don't know what it was. Like maybe God was like, you look, I put you through that, to get you through that because I couldn't finish what I started while you were in that situation. Dude, I fly around, the
Yeah.
country now, talk about t-shirts, right? Talk about music. I'm driving. I went back and got into the workspace. I built
Yes.
my business. We went from a small printer, where I have a couple big DTF printers and like you name it. That couldn't have been possible in that
Yeah.
situation. So let me tell you, coming out of it to now and healing properly, uh, that's been major for my mental health and everything else.
Man, that is so awesome to hear. And it kind of, so one thing that, one of my mentors, who happens to be my older brother, he told me, and to me, what you're saying kind of really falls in line with that. He goes, dude, taking care of yourself is taking care of your business. You got to take care of yourself first. Otherwise, they're both going to collapse, and it's obviously
Yeah,
much worse to have yourself fall apart than your business. The business, you can start another one. But he's like, but taking care of yourself is taking care of
right,
your business. And I love to hear how through this healing, it was able to open you up. Yeah. And obviously you didn't heal for the business, but it's a good byproduct.
right.
It allowed you
Absolutely.
to focus on your business. And so, to me, I'm kind of taking that in. I'm putting it in the bank up here, saving it for, should I need this in the future, I'm ready. I
Right,
got that in the bank. And I know there's people
right.
out there watching this who they might be in a bad place. And yeah, I do legit like the hope you're
Right.
giving today. I know there's people out there watching, and not to be, I really hope this doesn't come off as corny, but I really hope that if someone's watching
No,
this, put it in the comments, man. Like just because that helps
yeah,
keep us going. And again, it's not a gimmick to get comments or engagement, please. Ugh. But it
right,
really it
right, right,
really is
right.
good to hear, and I think it's important to share. So yeah, um, now
Sure. It'll reach those that it's meant for.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, and man, I honestly I could spend a long time on this topic because I think it's
Right.
very valuable, and it's not talked about
Sure.
enough in this space. I know it's, thank God mental health is something that's where there's a lot more awareness going on, but I think it's important to bring it into
Right.
different spaces. Um,
Right.
because some people they may not be catching content from the music people talking about it. They may just be catching content because they're
Yeah.
watching what they thought was a t-shirt podcast. And now we're
Right.
taking it
Right.
here,
Right.
man. And so it's something that I love
Right.
that we get to do here at 8 p.m.
Right.
So
We're just tools, brother. We're just tools. We're
yep.
we're just tools. We're vessels, man. And so this conversation today
Mhm.
is meant for somebody. Someone needs it besides yourself and me. But we're just vessels, brother. And when people say, "Oh man, influencers and so and so and so," man, everybody. As long as you can open your mouth and relay a message, you're influencing somebody, whether it's
Yeah.
negative or in a positive way, right? So we're all influencers of some sort. And I just feel like, I'm just a man of service, bro.
Yeah.
That's all we are, man. So we're being used to relay this message to somebody who really, really needs it. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a lot of people that tap in and say, man, I needed to hear what you guys were talking
Yeah.
about. Again, it goes beyond t-shirts, and this is who it's meant for.
Yeah. Exactly. Man, that's so good, dude. So good. To kind of, because this is a t-shirt podcast, to kind of
Right,
bring
right.
it back, right? Which
Right,
again, oh
right.
man, I could spend all day on this. But to kind of bring it back
Sure.
to shirts, can we talk about kind of your journey? And I know it's a little bit I don't want to say ignorant, but it's not appropriate to say
No.
clear the woods, because you never really clear the woods, you just kind of get better.
Right,
But
right.
after you had kind of exited that toxic situation, you're able to focus on yourself more. You were opened up to new opportunities within this industry. Can you kind of talk about your recent, and let's say the past year? Like, how has the past year looked for you as far as being in this industry? Because again, you're not a new entrepreneur, but you're new to t-shirts, right? Or
Right,
new to this industry as
right.
a
Well,
face,
yeah,
right? And
right.
pretty
Yeah,
quickly
yeah, yeah.
you're getting invited to places, you're getting brand deals that are pretty significant. Can you how has that been for you?
Well, I could have done it before,
Mhm.
but again, it's protecting what you know is
Okay.
worth something, right? And so well, in 2019, when I started to really come on, I've been with Uninet, obviously,
Hmm. Great brand. Yeah.
I mean, that's family. My relationship with, if I can say, his name, Joe
Hmm.
Dohe, the president, and there's other guys like Richie from Laser Transfer Supplies who they go hand in hand. Um, I wanted to always make sure that the type of relationships that I'm building aren't just because you want to use my platform, or vice versa. I don't need anyone's platform. It's going to build itself organically. But the relationships that I was trying to create were ones that I knew um, would have a positive impact in my life. I didn't want to just shoot content. I mean, you and I both know I have companies that reach out and say, "Hey, man, like
Yeah.
for 4 or 5 videos, I'll send you this machine. I'll send you this and this and this." That got boring
Yeah.
to me because what is it really doing for me and my son,
Hmm.
right? Well, sure, it'll give me a couple more views. It'll get them a couple of sales, but how do we keep that connection going? How do we continue to build? And so Uninet being the first company that was ever an affiliate to 2019 to today, I can call that guy. I can call those guys at the middle of the night and say, "Look, man, I am suffering. I don't have a gallon of milk. I have nothing in my fridge." I guarantee you that within seconds, probably before my conversation is done, I have it at my door. Not that I need that. I'm just
Yeah.
saying that's the kind of relationship that I do
Right.
have,
Right.
right? Is I wanted to make sure that I was working with companies who saw my value, respected it, but treated me more than just the influencer. There's more to
Hmm.
me. There's more to this relationship if we build it right. And so I had a couple of those, and I did. I have to be honest with you, is I got lost in that because everybody, it was all in one shot. Every company that everybody wants to work with, pretty much, was knocking on my door, and I'm like, okay, I'll accept it. I'll accept it. But then it didn't make sense after a while. I'm like, okay, I'm accepting these affiliate deals, but I didn't realize like these are pennies. Like this is doing nothing.
Yeah.
And so I got a little more stricter with myself and what I'm doing, and I said, okay, I only want to work with companies who are actually what you're doing right now, right?
Hmm.
There aren't many companies that are doing this, bro. Like, and let's be honest. This is also to get our message out for the both of
Hmm.
us, whoever's going to watch this, right? But the fact that you're putting out the content, so wherever you put this, it's going to be there. It's going to be shared. You're going to upload it. It's not a quick like, okay, he just did a quick video. I'll share it in my story, and bam, it's gone.
Yeah.
I didn't want that kind of relationship, so I felt like, look, because it takes a lot of time, brother. Like
Yeah.
we have to edit, right? There's a lot of stuff we have to do after the video was done. It goes beyond me shooting that piece of content, right? That's only a small part of it. There's a lot of work that has to be done. And I said, this is worth something. If I'm sacrificing time with my son, time with activities, if I'm choosing to
Yep.
stay home
Yep.
instead of going to my 9 to 5 to shoot this for you, it has to be worth something, right? And so now I work with people, but I structure things in a way where I'm not a money hungry guy. That's not me. But I structure things in a way where it's beneficial for both parties.
Right.
Like,
Right.
how is this going to be rewarding to one, my career, but two, my home? I got to provide for my son, roof, clothes, food. Has to be, I'm establishing relationships with companies that really want to do something,
Yeah.
and if not, I'm perfectly fine with that because again, it's not about the numbers. I've never paid for a single follower in my life. I've never
Yeah.
had to. I've never paid for a single service, right? And so I might have the small numbers. I think we're getting. I think we hit 11,000 or something today, right? So compared to the other guys, that's probably smaller to them. But we're talking 11,000 people, whether they fall off, unfollow, whatever. It's still people. That's 11,000 who saw your content at some point and chose to follow. Maybe they have a service that's adding friends to their account, but we did it organically. So if I
Yeah.
can do that organically and I'm doing well with my business without working with every company that pops up, then that tells me I can still find success even if I don't work with a certain company to become an affiliate to anybody, right? And so it's being picky and choosy with those that are actually doing something.
Yeah. All right, man. So you're the t-shirt buddy and you're the DTF buddy. You are probably one of the
Yes.
more, I want to say most, but you're probably one of the more experienced DTF influencers in the business right now. You've been doing it for a while. What are your thoughts? Because I know you're running a DTF business. Actually, I'll do this. I'll share my thoughts first, and you tell me if I'm wrong. If you're just
Okay.
starting out, it's probably best to just source DTF transfers from a provider like yourself versus bringing in my own in-house production. Am I wrong in my thinking?
You are not wrong.
Okay.
Not wrong at all in your thinking. Yeah, yeah. No, I would say to be a really good DTF printer is understanding the software,
Mm-hmm.
understanding color,
Mm.
understanding alignment. That's one of the biggest things with these DTF printers. And I think people are getting into it because they think it's fast money, but then they're finding that they're having to redo transfers. I can't tell you how many times I've had to reprint transfers for people who have transfer or printers at home.
Mm-hmm.
They can't dial them in. There's a lot of heavy maintenance involved with keeping these things going, whether it's a desktop model with industrial printers like the ones that I have. But I would say, not to say don't get one,
Mm.
but familiarize yourself with it first before you start to say that I'm a DTF provider or DTF transfer provider. There's nothing wrong with sourcing out to people like myself, and there's plenty of other people. But find something that's within your budget. But just familiarize yourself with not only that, but the type of powder, the type of
Mm-hmm.
inks, the type of films. Just because it has a name brand name on there doesn't mean that it's actually great. And I would say that when you do source out, a great company to look at is I'm a big fan of Ninja Transfers. I love
Okay.
what they're doing. I've seen that guy. I saw him on Facebook prior to them taking off. And as much as I love DTF and I think that I'm well rounded, I have my own teching business too. So I'm onboarding people and I'm teching, DTF stuff. I still go back and look at people like Ninja Transfers and I'll dissect the hell out of that transfer. Like how did he get it so smooth? How does that rubbery feel? And I try to model my transfers around that. I want that same feel, that same, from the moment it's printed, getting cured to when it's being pressed. So yeah, I'd say outsource before getting into some payments you can't pay back because your
Yeah.
business isn't growing since yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point because people do have, with DTF, there is a unique opportunity to actually order it and try it before you bring it on yourself. So that's really good advice. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I appreciate the
absolutely.
honesty. Yeah, a lot of people
Sure.
would just be like, "Oh, go buy it. Here's my link. Go buy your own." But no, that's really
Yeah.
great advice, man.
Yeah. Thank you.
Alrighty, man. Well, dude, seriously, today's conversation has been a blessing to me. I know a lot of people out there are gonna really just appreciate your honesty and your transparency. And I can't let people go without telling them how they can find you online, how they can get more of your content, more of your videos, your transfers, everything. So if you could do us a favor and just tell us where we can find
Sure.
you.
Yeah. Also on Instagram, it's under I'm the T-shirt buddy. I think there's a couple pages, but it's I'm the T-shirt buddy. You can't miss the logo or the design once you see it. On YouTube, it's the T-shirt buddy. I think on TikTok, I think it's the T-shirt buddy as well, something like that.
Nice.
But if you go to my Instagram, the link will be in the description where you can follow it over to TikTok. And those are the three platforms that I utilize the most. But if you're interested in getting transfers or sublimation paper, I offer sublimation paper as well. Then just go over to it's thebuddydtf.com and you'll find access to both of them.
Got it. Very cool. Well, Ruben, dude, I seriously want to appreciate you for taking the time, for sharing your heart with us, for coming onto the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been Customizing Culture. I'm your host, Jared Barbosa. And one more time, big thanks, Ruben Oriole Rivera. Did I say that right? No.
Yes.
Yes.
Right on
Okay.
the dot.
Right on the dot. There we
Yeah.
go. Ruben Oriole
right on the
Rivera, a.k.a. the T-shirt buddy. Thanks again, man.
Yes. Thank you so much.